My name is Mindy Vincent, and this is my story of hope. I've known since the day I was born, I was meant to do big things. I was born with a soul to fight. I have always had this feisty, spicy spirit about me to fight against injustices and things that I think are not fair or wrong in the world. I have a master's in social work and a master's in public administration. I started the first legal syringe exchange in the state of Utah. I work all the time to pass legislation, and I'll continue to work and fight for people for the rest of my life. I am the founder and executive director of the Utah Harm Reduction Coalition. There's many ways that drugs can be harmful, and we try to eliminate or minimize as many of those harms as we possibly can. After my sister actually died from a heroin overdose, I decided that I could not watch one more person die. I started my own organization that doesn't have requirements around what recovery has to look like. When someone is dead, we can't help them ever again. That's it, And so it's very important that we do everything we can to keep people alive so that they can find their recovery. Harm reduction isn't just about meeting people where they're at. It's about meeting them where they're at and not leaving them there.
I was out here 2 years homeless. What was super helpful was when Utah Harm Reduction Coalition would come down here. Extremely beneficial. A non-judgmental support from a group that just wants us to stay alive. Those were the things that mattered.
I began using drugs and alcohol when I was 12 or 13 years old. 15-year-old me probably didn't think we were going to get out of the system. Because when I was 15 years old, I was in state's custody and had been declared ungovernable. And right about that time is when I was running away, and I'd be emancipated soon after. So I was literally taking care of myself as a teenager. No one ever told me when I was little, what are you going to go to school for? It was just kind of assumed that I'd do some kind of just clock in, clock out kind of thing. And I'm just meant for so much more. And I'm super glad that I got to find the path to lead me there. I was a meth addict for 17 years, and through that time, of course, my story is like so many others. I hit bottom after bottom. In the time that I was struggling with addiction, it wasn't so easy to go to treatment. You couldn't just show up somewhere and have funding and go to treatment. So I got involved in the criminal justice system, and through the criminal justice system, I was able to enter into treatment. The moment I walked into the House of Hope, just the energy that is there, it just feels like love. It's a beautiful thing when you have a lot of women together. The power of many women is very strong. And in the House of Hope, you're being held and loved by 50 other women who are going through the same thing you are. The process of recovery is so magical. And then when you add on to it just the love and care and support of somewhere like the House of Hope, there's just nothing better. When you're a parent, it's very hard to go into treatment, because if you can't take your kids with you, what are you going to do with them? And on top of that, there's a huge fear that if you ever let your kids out of your custody, you're not going to get them back. And the House of Hope supports women in being parents and being a parent in recovery. When I had my son, he was the first thing in my whole life I ever truly loved. When I looked at him, it was the first time I ever cared about what happened to me, because if something happened to me, it would take me away from him. And through the House of Hope, I was able to get my son back. I'll choke up, but if it weren't for the House of Hope, I would not have my son back, and I wouldn't have gotten to raise him. My kids deserve the world, both of them. I think all women pray to have a man who loves them so perfectly, and God gave that to me and my son. Nick is my best friend. He is the rock in my life. He is the funniest person I know. And he's just everything that I think a true man is. He's a gentleman, he's respectful. Everybody who meets him loves him. He's the best. I'm grateful my daughter's gotten to have a different life than Nick did. Drugs are not unfamiliar to either one of my kids. Even though my daughter has grown up with me in recovery all of her life, the work that I do exposes her to that. And that's a good thing, I think. I always want her to be on the right side of history and treating people who struggle with substance use just like anybody else who has struggles. Drug addiction is just a coping skill, just like everything else. It just happens to be a very rewarding one that has strong rewards in the brain. It's also one that's very reliable and dependable. When I take a substance, I know what it's going to do for me. No matter what the consequence is, that payoff in that moment is everything that I need to make it through that day. But one of the things that the House of Hope taught me is that there was another way of life and that I could have it. So even though I did relapse, I knew that there was a better life waiting for me because the House of Hope showed that to me. And today, I am a ray of bright light for all who encounter me, and I get to be a tool of good in the world, and I get to love everybody right where they are and be an example of good to other people, and that's something I never even knew I could be. So if you are thinking about going to treatment, go to treatment. And if it doesn't work out there, go again, because you're worth it, you deserve it, you can do it, and the people in your life and your kids deserve it too. But most of all, you deserve it. You have no idea what's waiting for you. Makes me all tender.